Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Real Estate Roundtable presented by Angie Goulet and Associates. We are a real estate team located in the Windsor-Essex County area with RE/MAX Preferred Realty. In this week's episode, we'll be discussing the April 2021 real estate market. We've got the statistics from the Windsor-Essex County Association of Realtors. My name is Steve Blaze, Team General Manager, and I'd like to welcome two other realtors from the team, Trista Anderson and Krista Klender. Thanks for joining, ladies.
Hey.
Thanks, Steve.
So what a difference a year makes from our stats from 2020. It's also probably the toughest month to actually compare to a year back.
It is.
Really, right? So, but I mean, I guess your initial thoughts from both of you on how this past month has been for you and your business.
I found it extremely challenging for buyers. The sellers, like that went well, obviously, and they're pretty happy with the prices that they're getting. But my buyers, like we only won by a few $100s. Like it wasn't very much at all. So it's really competitive. Yeah. And we're trying to base Krista, you'll see this, like I'm trying to base what I'm offering for my clients off like the moonshot that just won last week, right? So I don't even know how.
Yeah, I have very similar thoughts, and I'm starting to sound like a broken record, I feel like. But this past month, I've noticed that the aggressiveness, and I probably used these exact words last month on this this Facebook Live, the aggressiveness in offers is what I see creeping up and up and up. So right now we're at $20,000 per offer, and that is holding true in my experience across all price points, whether it's listed at $199 or $599. It's across the board. But we are seeing, and we have the stats to prove that, lesser number of offers. So my sellers, yes, still very happy at the end of the day with the number that they're getting, but a little bit of a panic I'm seeing, not panic, but a little bit of, oh my gosh, I only have 4 offers, or I only have, right, instead of you have 18 offers, right? But
that one house last week had 39 offers or 49.
49. So, I mean, I think that's the record I've ever heard for Windsor. But you know, it is starting to change. So this past month specifically, I am seeing more aggression, but lesser number of offers.
Right. When you're saying 20,000 per offer, I think of the offers we've been involved with and have been tracking, we're down to just over 10 offers per transaction. Mm-hmm. The number of offers coming down, the cost, the price per offer going up. It's definitely holding true for sure. So let's look at the numbers. So average selling price, that's the number most people want to see, $571,943 compared to this time last year.
Which, as you mentioned right at the beginning, Steve, that is a tough month to compare it to. That was our real first lockdown.
Yeah.
Right. And we all did stay home and bake banana bread for the first few weeks.
In April 2020, we were flat. So we didn't actually have an increase in April 2020. We didn't lose any ground. Mm-hmm. But we were just flat for price point. So I feel like if we weren't locked down last April, we wouldn't see this 60% increase because that April would have gone up. It doesn't necessarily mean that this would have gone up more.
Right. I agree with you. Yeah.
Right. But still, a 60% increase over last year is pretty significant. But the real numbers we're looking at are what's our listing and sales inventory. So at 943 new listings is typically our spring season. So we expect we're going to have some inventory. The difference between lockdowns, though, I know, say last April we were in a lockdown. It was the first one. This April, we're in a lockdown again. But I feel like our mentality has changed in how we're dealing with this. At first it was like, do I go out and sell? Do I show homes? Aria saying, don't do it. Rico saying you can do it. And it was just really a confusing time to know where you needed to stand.
Well, it was. And there was also like, wear a mask. No, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, you should wear sunglasses. Well, like, but we didn't have any information on how to mitigate this for our clients. So we kind of just stayed home. 943 new listings in April historically is not high.
No.
Not at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Well, if we just looked up today earlier, I was on the phone with you, Tricia. We were looking at the number of resale listings on the market right now at this moment. If you take out new construction,
Right.
we were at 403 active resale listings. We were down into the high 100s. We were into 190s for a little while closer to January, and then New Year when it really started to ramp up. We had little inventory, but we had a huge demand spike after Christmas. So definitely the inventory is going up, which is nice. A little more to choose from, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe that's why we're seeing a slight decline in the number of offers on properties as well. But
Yeah.
it's
That would make the most sense.
yes, but then I find there's a pent up, I'm so sick of this, of losing, and I'm just going to throw out this really aggressive offer, right? So it's all kind of making sense, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And as you mentioned, oftentimes we have to use comparables to some extent when we're trying to price properties, and we're potentially using some of those anomalies.
That's all we're using, because we're not, well, we'll discuss blind bidding after, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's take a look at this compared to last month. So this month's average sale price, $571,943 for April 2021. In March 2021, we were at $531,805. So that's a significant gain, even listings.
Yeah.
943 were
Right.
893. And units sold, very similar. So just so you can see that inventory we're talking about starting to come on board. And then the activity by price range, we can really see that 600 and up price range has kind of spiked up. And I'll show you the screen from last month. When you look at the bar graph, it's gone up quite a bit in that range, that 600 and up. But specifically, we want to mention that $1 million range, because we've had, we had 10 transactions over 1.4 million last month.
Wow.
Historically, that's a lot.
Yes.
Historically, going back even 5-6 years, we didn't even have that category.
I know.
It didn't even exist. So forget like over 1.4. It was like anything over 999 got all lumped together because there were just so few. Disregarding commercial, like only discussing residential. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and for example, just even the 1.2 to 1.4 range, there was 11. So there was, 10 homes over 1.4, but there was still 11 that were 1.2 to 1.4. So that's now 21 homes over 1.2 million. That's significant.
Wow.
Seem to be in LaSalle. No.
A lot of this is going to be new construction too, right?
Yeah.
Of course, but it's hard to believe we're seeing raised ranches that coming in over the $1 million mark. Land is tough to come by right now for builders, and it's certainly showing up in the sale prices. So if we take a look at locations by the sales by area, certain areas are very active. And their listing to sale ratio is very close. And then other areas, just for example, like Tilbury, we're at about 50%, whereas Amherstburg's quite a bit higher. So there's certainly quite a bit of activity going on. Amherstburg does have a lot of new construction going on.
It really does, yeah.
Right? Kingsbridge, and so there's quite a bit of activity going on in there. And then we'll just take a quick look at the historical statistics over time. We've seen this. It doesn't change much every month, but when we hit 2015, things started to change in this area, but it really boosted in 2019. And again, we had that shot, that spike in 2020, and then we're continuing on that uphill climb in 2021. Get out of here. Let's switch back. Here we go. Excellent. So, I'm sorry?
We're all just jumping around.
Yeah, right. So we're talking about the popular styles of homes right now. We're seeing the bungalow being the most popular type of home at 145 units sold with an average price of $459. But that two-story, there's the one that's at like $725 average price for a two-story right now. Of course, we know like into the new homes, this would be more into the $1 million range even, but 129 units. And then on average, going down to number 5 on the spot, the raised ranch at 70 units with $642,615 average sale price. So What kind of tips, I guess, would we be giving buyers right now to help get them, the home they need?
Trista, go for it.
Just honestly take a breath. So, I inadvertently didn't mute you guys on my Zoom call yesterday, so you heard how I talk right now.
Yeah.
But like there was a client at a really tough price point, and 10 years, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, I would have never ever said this to a client, but I was like, just buy the house. Like buy the house, get into the market, take the house, we'll sell it in a year, you'll still make money. Like just buy the house, just get in. So talking to two younger people yesterday, they were explaining to me how the market was going to crash soon, so they're going to wait. It's not. Like it just isn't. Historically, the biggest crash we had was 6%. So if we're seeing these gains month over month, like do whatever you need to do to get into the market.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Now, other areas, I guess it might be good to talk about, for example, the GTA right now. We just saw, Tristan and I were talking about this video that came up from Bloomberg that Toronto offers are declining. So the number of offers have been declining, and then sales are down a little bit there as well. But so I guess if you're counting on following in Toronto's footsteps, that might not be where it's going to head, right?
No,
so
I don't.
What's happening in Toronto right now?
Now, Steve, when you say declining number of offers, but are the prices still staying the same or increasing? Is it like that's what we're saying is happening here?
Right. Well, yeah. So they're getting homes where there might have been 5 or 10 offers, and now they're getting none or 1 or 2, those kinds of things. And that can happen here too sometimes, where you're kind of expecting. We've all been there. We're like, well, there's probably going to be a good 10 offers on this one, and there's 2. But like you said earlier, Krista, it's that aggressiveness and that's per offer amount that's going up. So you don't necessarily need 49 offers anymore to make the same money as a seller that you would if you only had 5 potentially.
Right, but they were explaining how their buyers are maxed out in price point right now.
Exactly.
Right. So those buyers still want to buy. So I don't think that we're going to follow Toronto market. I think Toronto market slowing down and pricing people out is only driving them into our areas like London, Chatham, like even more. So
good point.
Yeah. So I don't think that is going to provide any relief for our local market whatsoever.
It could make it even more difficult.
I believe it will. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And I think to Trista's point too, like get into the market and don't be afraid to throw in a bid that you might be a bit uncomfortable with that's so high, because chances are that's what it's going for. I had one the other day that I said to them, guys, I think we need to go 200,000 over list price. You're crazy, Krista. The numbers don't show it. We went 190 over. 200 was the sale price, right? And it's like, it was $10,000 like in the lifespan of a mortgage, or by next year when you need to sell it because you just needed to get in, you're going to make that up, right? So trust us. Like we know the numbers, our guts are pretty good right now. Are they? Who knows? But just don't just be ridiculous. Get in, be ridiculous.
Yeah, because this isn't the point of you're arguing over $5,000, because if you're shorting yourself a couple of $1,000, next month it's going to cost you 20.
Yes. So true.
You're not losing money right now. So
yeah, remember when we used to negotiate over a washer and dryer?
Yeah.
Deals I lost over like an old washer, where I was like, right now.
It feels like forever ago, but really, I mean, in the span of 10 years, even.
Not even. Yeah.
It was a tough market 10 years ago. So, yeah, I'll say tough, but I mean, it was certainly a different world completely.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Yeah, when buyer agents would call you as the listing agent, and you'd be like, what can I do for you? How can I do that? No, I'm waiting for you. Like, no. Like now it's like, yeah, they're Tuesday.
Right. And bottom line. Yeah.
No, that's for sure. Is there anything else that either of you would like to add about the market that maybe we haven't discussed already? Any changes you think will be coming our way? I know there's lots of talk about interest rates going up, cooling measures. Do we still need those cooling measures to be introduced? That kind of thing.
I kind of suspect if this new stress test qualification percentage goes up at June 1st, which I understand it's still very, very gray to mortgage people. It's not a yes or a no that it's for sure coming into place. I do think for buyers, that might be a little bit of a cool down, which might be a good time to buy because maybe you will have a few less offers. And for sellers, I think you may see a few less offers for those first couple of weeks that we're trying to get used to this new stress test level and any changes, right? But then we know that after 2 weeks of those being put into place, everything goes back to normal, right?
Well, and also if you have a buyer that's on the verge, right, and they're not quite qualifying where they want to be, credit unions don't go by the same rules.
Good point.
Right.
So you can bring your clients to a credit union and still get them, a healthy budget. They don't have to.
Good point.
So people kind of forget that. And then also they're talking about capital gains possibly going on personal residences. So that's an interesting concept that if you sell within five years of buying it, you're on a sliding scale of what you would have to pay in terms of capital gains. So first year would be more and then going down every year thereafter. So that would most likely slow down, people just touching in on our market and then leaving quickly.
Flippers.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because flippers, like if they're not living in the house, it's not their.
That's true. Good point. That's true. It's going to be. Well, okay, let's.
Their flip.
I'm sorry.
Question.
Oh, we have a question.
Yeah, from Courtney Ann. She said, how are first-time homebuyers getting into this market, especially when they have families and need the space of a bigger home? Well,
good question, Courtney.
Yeah, but you got a couple of options. So you can still use your RSPs if you have them to use as a down payment, and have 35 years to pay back or something like that. It's a long time. And you can also call mom and dad, and they can use their RSPs to help you with the down payment to get into the market and boost up your purchase price. Krista, any other ideas?
I think the credit union is a good suggestion. Mortgage broker versus a traditional bank, I find can sometimes get you a little bit more money. But I think the gist of her question is probably what we hear every day of how does a first-time buyer buy more, right? Like it's no longer 200, it's now 400 is the new first-time buyer price, it seems like, right?
450. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is a hard question to answer. And the simple answer is it's a hard pill to swallow. And that is what it is, right? Like you've got to find ways, bigger down payment, loan from mom and dad.
Secondary unit in the house.
Say it again. Sorry.
Having a secondary unit in the house.
Yeah. ADU, right? Yeah. And maybe being a little flexible with the kind of home that you're like, it may not be your dream home initially. It may require some work, and that's how you build equity in them and get into the market, right?
That's right. Like maybe a garage doesn't have to be a must, or a pool or whatever, right? Like Trista said earlier, just get in now, because in a year when things may cool, I shouldn't use that word, but buy something at that point then, but at least you're making a profit in this year. So maybe be a little more flexible.
You're going to have to, just to be blunt, you're going to have to lower your expectations.
Yes.
You're not getting what you got 5 years ago, right? So you just need to get in the market.
Yeah.
Maybe not live the ideal situation. Maybe rent out your basement. Maybe save up some more money. At least you're in the market and you're moving up with it. She has one more question. She says, when the bank gives you a loan, say 450, should you really be using that whole 450? Life would be very tight.
Well, yes and no. I mean, if that's what the sale price is and that's all you can get, not all you can get. I mean, if that's the house that you love and you can get it for 450, yes, use it all, right? Especially at these mortgage rates. But it's not like, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, if you buy a house for 400, the bank's not giving you 450 anyways. Like you don't have a $50,000 pot to play with, right? Unless you're doing a mortgage plus improvement. So it's not like you're getting that money extra anyway.
Right.
So maybe roll it into a mortgage where we have these all-time low mortgage rates and get that little bit of a better house. Maybe you can lower higher expectations and use it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. If you're approved for say 500 and you look at that you look minus your down payment, right? And you look at that monthly mortgage payment, if you're not comfortable with that, don't do it.
Right. I've lived house poor. It's not fun. If you can't afford pizza on a Friday night, don't do it.
Yeah.
Right. But no, you don't have to use everything the bank tells you you're approved to.
But keeping in mind, though, that if we're talking about the difference between getting a slightly less expensive home, but having to put money into it out of pocket versus buying something that's a little more updated and it's rolled into your mortgage. I mean, especially we know what materials and renovation costs are today. They're through the roof. So that may be the better option. Spend a little extra. Don't tie up your time, doing the renovations and having to come up with materials and labor to do that. So that may be the better option than getting the fixer-upper.
Right.
Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to chat about blind bidding.
Mm-hmm.
What are your feelings on that, Trista?
When it first came to light a couple of years ago, when they talked about, possibly removing blind bidding, and Steve, you had brought up a really good point that, the laws that govern us were written in 2002. So they really need to be updated for technology, for the market, for everything. But when I'm looking at the past 30 days of sales, right, which is really all we can look at right now, and trying to assess, there could have, say the house was listed at 500,000. So there could have been 8 offers, all at like 550, 560, like all in this bunch. And then there's one that comes in at 625, right? So now I'm basing my offer price for the next house that's similar off that moonshot price, off the top end. I don't know about all the other prices. So I do feel that if blind bidding was gone, the people that are coming in $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 over everybody else, they're going to back down, right? Like it is going to really stabilize the market quickly. So I had an agent tell me, well, that just sounds like a lot of work. Well,
how?
Good job though, right? Like, that's really what we're here for. So please don't complain that it's more work, because it should be. In order to
writing 15 or 20 offers and losing, that's not a lot of work.
It's a ton of work running around. I have 39 offers for right now. I'm so tired of it. So it's like, at least if we know, people can make a decision based, if it's 300,000 and they want to offer 370 and there's 8 other people at the same, in and around the same price point, they can go up a couple thousand, down a couple, whatever. We're not going to get these crazy prices that are, they're ruining our market. They're making it go up faster than it needs to go. Balance. Krista?
Well, there's 2 ways of looking at this, right? From a buyer's side and from a seller's side.
True.
And as soon as one seller experiences this open bidding and realizes, I just lost out a potential maybe 50 grand, my neighbor got 50 grand more when it was still a closed bidding, it's going to be a problem, right? Like I don't know. I like it for my buyers. I hate it for my sellers. I mean, we've all experienced it for our sellers where one offer is $50,000 more than it needed to be.
And you're super happy in that moment, and your sellers start crying because they're so happy. Like,
I know. So I don't know. There's good and bad to it. I don't want to keep writing offers for the same person, right? Offer number 18. I'd like to be done with those people. I love them, but I'd like to be done with them, right? So in that case, yeah,
right.
They want yeah.
So do I think it's a good idea? I'm completely on the fence, if I'm being honest with you.
Not easy. Yeah, it's a tough
No.
for sure.
You know, all of a sudden for, you know, house A and house B next door to each other, and they get 50,000 less because all of a sudden there's open bidding, people are going to stop selling their houses. Possibly.
I don't know, Krista, because I honestly believe that it's part of our job to educate the market, right? And we had to educate people very quickly when our market changed this time, because there were still buyers walking in going, no, like I'm 10,000 below list, and we're, you know, so we had the ability as a group to educate the buyers on what was going on. I think that it's going to take that kind of one-on-one education thing, that, you know what, because there are people that think that this could raise the market. So if you're bidding 200 and I'm bidding 205 and you come back at 210 and I come back at 215, like this could be a long process, and it could potentially drive up the market. What I feel like, right, I feel like what it's going to do is just take away those top end crazy numbers and have everybody sort of bidding incrementally together, which is how they do it in Australia.
Yes, and Europe. I also believe that if this does come about, we will list more appropriately. Like we will list where that neighbor sold, right? Like our list prices are going to come up. Right. So there's not that much of a gap.
Yeah. It'll be a hard change if you're doing it quickly like that, right? I mean, typically in the real estate world, things change slowly and they gradually change. But these changes that happen really fast can be tough to deal with, for sure. We have a question from, I guess more of a comment from Roger Bellevance. Currently, for every 100,000 you borrow, you will pay 420. So consider what houses are renting for now, from 1,600 to 2,000. So it makes sense to buy if you can. Yeah. As a landlord, I mean, I understand rents are what they are, but certainly if you can buy and get into it.
And it's funny, right? If the bank is only going to approve you, let's just say for 300,000, which would equate to about a $1,200 mortgage in that case, your rents for that same house are probably 18. So if you can find that 1,800 to rent that house, find the money to buy it, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Roger, that's my client. Thanks.
How much did you pay him to do that? No. But like Trista said earlier, maybe the idea of doing an ADU or something like that, like a basement suite, or you had a segment on tiny homes. Even like I understand there's a pretty considerable expense in doing that, but potentially choosing a lot where you have the room to put up an additional dwelling or convert a garage, right? A detached garage or something. So there's some options out there to help generate some extra income, for sure. Well,
and we're not the first to go down this road.
No.
Look at Vancouver, Toronto, when they're looking for homes, they're looking for properties that have multiple units in it when they're going to be owner occupied. So just in order to get in the market. So I know that it's a big shift. We've been very spoiled for a long time with great housing options at great pricing. It's just, we're changing the mindset right now.
Absolutely. Any last comments before we close out today? Maybe?
I'm really hoping that we start stabilizing. I don't think that we're going to see 60% gains again next month.
No,
I don't see it. So, and I do think that the number of offers are going down, but like Krista said, they're still really aggressive. And she's, she'll get you on the phone and sell you a dream.
Sorry.
And then kill you in the end.
Krista.
Yeah.
Roger, thank you.
Yesterday, she took somebody else's bid, just so you know. So, although I do love her, I am still just a little salty.
I'm sorry. No, I don't really have any more to add either. I think a lot of people out there, the general public, think that we realtors absolutely love this and, we're making money hand over fist. We don't love it. It's hard work. And I think, I don't say that to sound like an ass, but, when you're on offer number 18 for the same client, your heart's in it as much as those buyers. We hate this. So yeah, that open bidding would be a bit of a blessing in that case, but we don't like this either.
No, it's really hard to tell a client for the $39.9 that they didn't get the house.
Yeah, or to give any kind of advice is difficult. So please don't think, guys, that it really irks me to see these comments that we're stirring this up and this is our fault and all of this stuff. We don't like it either. So
Totally.
the sellers do. Our sellers love it, but
well, they love it until they're buying.
Yeah.
There's usually a double side to that at some point, right? Unless you're leaving town. But even then, where in Canada do you go at this point? There's so many other areas that are in the same boat.
A lot of people I'm talking to are moving to the East Coast. Yeah. And my son called me. He's in Agetown with the Army in New Brunswick. And he called and he was complaining about how fast their housing costs are going up. Their average sales price just hit $238,000.
Wow.
Just go for it, buddy. So, but they're seeing a lot of people coming from Ontario and out west to the East Coast because they can afford houses there. So it's always a little bit of a shift, and Windsor's just hit it in the early end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, ladies, for joining today and going over all this data. I appreciate it very much. Hope everyone can join us next Thursday. We're actually going to be having on a special guest, Mochi Heb from Windsor Land Homes. We're going to meet the builder and go over any developments that are going on, talk some new construction. So looking forward to seeing everybody then. Thanks again, ladies, and talk to you soon.
Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Bye.